Welcome back to the English Pros podcast. Today we're going to be discussing Captain Veer, who is kind of the middle ground character of this story. I'm here with Courtney Bartlett, English expert, and Ricky Cosby, English analyzer.
His main physical traits is that he's older, white, and your typical sailor. His interesting fact is that he's the best of both men because he has the intelligence of Claggart but compassion of Billy Budd.
We're going to be coming back to the same question. What would he do if he wasn't a sailor? I think that he would be a great judge because he's neither good or bad among the three characters, and he wouldn't be biased towards one way on a case, so he would be the most fair judge.
I think he'd be a pretty good principal because he's fair and honest, and he also has a really good ability to solve problems.
I find that he would be a good stay-at-home dad. I think that he would be good to all of his kids and be good at solving problems and making sure they're not fighting and making sure they're doing good like he is as a boss. But I have another question. Would Captain Veer's good personality and honesty translate to the modern society? And personally, I don't think so because the way his job is as a sailor, that's not really a job that's as common now in our modern society. And also, in this world, it's kind of a darker place to where you don't really have as many people like Billy Budd just walking around where he's a complete simpleton and is completely innocent. It's just not as common.
Personally, I think he would fit in because we already have named 3 jobs he'd be great at. So I think he'd find a way in society.
I agree with Courtney because I think his honesty and the good personality he has is something everybody in society should have. And if everybody did have that, then I think it'd be our society would be better overall.
So my personal thoughts on the character is that he's a pretty good guy, but he doesn't have much to him.
My personal thoughts is that actually he's an amazing person. I mean, we see that even though he really likes Billy Budd, he still ultimately decides that he needs to do what he's got to do as a job. So that to me just elevates him as an incredible character.
I agree with Wyatt because I think when he looks at a situation, he thinks what would be the most fair way to go across it, or what would be best for everybody on his crew or on his ship as a whole.
Out of the 3 characters, I would rank him 2. I rate him a 7 out of 10 because he's never really did anything wrong, but I think he could have helped stand up for Billy Budd.
I'm going to go ahead and rate him 1. I mean, I know it's unconventional to say that he's a better character than Billy Budd. I even think the author intended for him to be probably the number 2 character in this book. But I really like him. I think that he's a good guy, and he's faced with the terrible situation that Billy Budd and Claggart put him in. It's not like he did this to himself. And the fact that he's able to make the right choice even in a high pressure situation, it just puts him he's just such a great guy. I love him.
Personally, I agree with Wyatt at putting him over Billy Budd at 1 because he's, out of the 3 characters, he's morally the best. And I rate him an 8 out of 10 because he doesn't have any major flaws like the other characters do.
So Captain Veer, he's kind of serves as a symbol of the crossfire, similar as when opposites collide, say in war or politicians, you see the people always are taking the backfire of both. Similar to how Captain Veer has to in this situation, he's just taking the crossfire, and that's kind of just an unfortunate part that he's got to fill that role. But that's all we have for you today. Thank you for tuning in.